Picture this. It's tonight, it's late, and you are doing the single most vulnerable thing a mammal can do. You're going to walk into a small room, lie down flat on your back, close your eyes, and switch your brain off for 8 hours. On purpose. You will be unconscious, defenseless, and completely unaware of your surroundings, and you're not even slightly worried about it. In fact, you're looking forward to it. You've got a pillow. You've got a duvet. The scariest thing that will happen to you tonight is that your foot gets slightly too warm. Now take all of it away. The room. The door. The walls. The lock on the door. It's a warm night, 4 million years ago. The sun is going down over an African woodland, and you have to solve the exact same problem. You have to be unconscious for hours. Except the ground you're standing on is, without exaggeration, the most dangerous real estate on the planet after dark. So where do you go? You go up. You climb. And somewhere above the ground, in the branches, you build yourself a bed. Which raises a question almost nobody thinks to ask, even though we spend a third of our lives doing it. Why did ancient humans sleep in trees? And what happened when we finally came down? Because that decision, up there or down here, quietly shaped your brain, your sleep, your fear of the dark, and the exact reason you feel weird sleeping in an open room with the door open. It's still with you. Let's go. Start with the thing that makes all of this make sense. At night, the ground is a buffet. In an African woodland after dark, the ground level shift belongs to animals that are far better at the night than you are. Leopards, hyenas, lions. All of them see better than you in low light. All of them smell better than you, and all of them are extremely interested in a soft, slow primate lying motionless in the open, with its eyes closed. You are not a challenge. You are a delivery, and there's a specific horror here that people miss. Leopards in particular hunt primates, not incidentally, not when times are hard. They are the single most efficient primate killer on the continent. Quiet, patient, happy to wait, and built for exactly the hours when you are least able to do anything about it. Look at what's actually inside leopard kills, and primate remains show up again and again and again. If you are a small ape in an African woodland, the leopard is not a background risk you factor in. The leopard is the author of your daily schedule. It is the reason your ancestors did every single thing they did at dusk. And we're not guessing about this, which is the part that still gets me. We have the receipts, and they are grim in a very specific, very quiet way. There's a famous fossil from South Africa, a young hominin skull, roughly 1.5 million years old, with 2 neat puncture holes in the back of it. For years, nobody could explain them. Then somebody thought to take a leopard's lower jaw and hold the canines up to the skull. They fit. Exactly. That's not a hominin who died of old age. That's a hominin who got picked up, the way a cat picks up something small, and carried. And there's the tongue child, an Australopith kid, famous for being the first of its kind ever found, whose skull carries damage around the eye sockets that matches what large birds of prey do to monkeys they've taken. Which means a child of your family line was, most likely, lifted out of the world by an eagle. I'm not telling you that for the shock. I'm telling you because those 2 fossils are the honest emotional weight behind every word of this video. When you picture an ape climbing a tree at dusk, don't picture a nature documentary. Picture something small and clever that has learned, the hardest possible way, exactly what happens to the ones who stay down. So here's the trade. On the ground, you are safe from nothing. Up in the branches, 3, 6, 12 meters off the deck, on limbs that will not hold a heavy predator, you are safe from almost everything. The leopard can climb, but it can't follow you out onto the thin stuff. The hyena can't follow you at all. The math is brutally simple, and every ape alive today has already done it. Because here's the part that should genuinely surprise you. This isn't speculation about the deep past. It's happening right now, tonight, while you're watching this. Every night, all over Africa, chimpanzees climb into the trees and build a bed. Not find, build, a fresh one. Basically every single night of their adult lives. Do the arithmetic on that for a second. A wild chimp that makes it to old age, building a fresh bed nearly every night from adolescence on, will build something in the order of 15,000 beds in a lifetime. 15,000. And it will sleep in each one exactly once. Imagine constructing your bedroom from scratch every single evening and then walking away from it forever in the morning, and doing that for 40 years, and never once thinking of it as remarkable. And they're good at it. A chimp picks a spot, usually a fork in the branches, and starts bending live limbs in toward the center, weaving them over and under each other into a bowl. Then they line it with smaller leafy twigs for padding. The whole thing takes a couple of minutes. Some chimps add extra leaves under their head. That is a pillow. Your closest living relative, in the wild, with no instruction manual, is out there making a pillow. Orangutans take it further, because orangutans are the engineers of the family. They build the bowl, they add a mattress layer of leafy twigs, and then, depending on the night, they'll add extras. A canopy of branches pulled over the top when it rains, which is a roof, and a separate bundle of leaves to hold, which researchers have literally described as a blanket and a pillow. They pick strong branches for the frame and springy ones for the mattress. This is a nightly build. It's not a nest they return to for a season. It's a one-night hotel room, made from scratch, before bed. And this is where it stops being cute and starts being genuinely impressive, because the tree choice is not random. Researchers looking at chimpanzee nests in Uganda found the chimps were strongly favoring one particular tree species for their beds, far more than you'd expect from how common the tree actually was in the forest. And when they tested the wood, that species turned out to be stiffer and more resistant to bending than the alternatives, with a closed, dense canopy. In other words, the chimps had selected the firm mattress. They were not sleeping in whatever tree they happened to be standing next to. They were shopping, and it isn't only about comfort. A bed up in the canopy is drier, it's breezier, and there's a decent case that it puts you above the worst of the insects, and away from the mosquitoes carrying things that can kill you. So the tree bed isn't just an anti-leopard device. It's an anti-everything device. Safer, cleaner, cooler, and it comes with a view. Honestly, it's a better setup than most first apartments. But there's one ape in the family that breaks the pattern, and I want to flag it now because it's about to matter enormously. Gorillas. Gorillas build nests too. Same instinct, same weaving, same nightly build. Except the big ones very often build them on the ground. And the reason is embarrassingly simple. A large male gorilla can weigh as much as two of you. Put that in a tree, out on the branches where it's safe, and the branches have an opinion about it. So the biggest apes in the forest sleep down in the leaf litter, in a nest, with their size as the only thing standing between them and the night. Hold on to that. Big body, ground bed. It's going to come back. Now, hold that image. An ape building a careful, engineered bed in a tree every night, and let's go back and look at your own family. Because the fossils are, frankly, a bit incriminating. Take Lucy, Australopithecus afarensis, about 3.2 million years old, the most famous skeleton on Earth. From the waist down, Lucy is a walker. The pelvis, the knees, the feet, that is a body built for the ground. No argument. But then you look up. The arms are long, the fingers are curved, the shoulder blade looks less like yours and more like an ape's. A shoulder built for reaching up and hanging, not for hanging by your side. And that combination is the whole story in one skeleton, a creature that walks all day and climbs when it matters. For a long time, the debate treated those curved fingers as leftovers, evolutionary junk mail, traits that hadn't been deleted yet. But here's the thing about evolution. It is ruthless about baggage. Curved fingers and a climbing shoulder cost you. They make walking and carrying and throwing worse. If those traits stuck around for 1,000,000-odd years, the simplest explanation isn't that nobody got around to removing them. It's that they were still being used. Something in that life still required going up. And the most obvious candidate for something you do every single day, without fail, for your entire life, that would keep climbing gear in the toolkit, is not lunch. It's bedtime. So the picture we end up with is an animal that spends its day on two legs on the ground, doing the walking thing, doing the gathering thing, and then, as the light goes, does what every other ape does. It looks up, picks a tree, climbs, builds a bed, and sleeps above the danger. For millions of years, night after night after night, that was the routine, that was normal. That was, for most of our family's history, what going to bed meant. So what changed? Why are you not up a tree right now? Two things came down, and they came down together. The first is that we got bigger. Remember the gorillas? Same rule. Running on us. As bodies get heavier, and by the time you get to Homo erectus, roughly 2 million years ago, you are looking at something built a lot more like you. Long legs, real height, real weight. The tree stops being free. Big animals in thin branches is a physics problem, and physics does not care how clever you are. A heavier ape has to sleep lower, and closer to the trunk, on the thicker stuff, which is exactly where a leopard can reach it. So the tree quietly stops paying out. You're doing all the work of climbing and all the discomfort of sleeping in a fork, and you're getting less and less safety in return. At some point, the deal is just bad, and a bad deal is only a problem until something better shows up. And the second thing is the one that actually did it. Fire. Think about what a fire actually is. At night, on the ground. It's light where there was none, which strips the predator of its single biggest advantage. The dark was never empty. It was just theirs. And fire takes it back. It's heat, so you no longer need a tree's worth of huddling to hold your temperature through the small hours. It's smoke, which pushes back the insects. It's a hard edge that says this space is occupied, and above all, it is the one thing every animal out there is hardwired to run from, because everything that didn't run from fire is no longer with us. A fire doesn't make you stronger. It doesn't make you faster. It just quietly makes the ground stop being a buffet. And the moment the ground is survivable, the tree is redundant, because a tree, for all its safety, is a genuinely rubbish bed. You can't stretch out, you can't roll over, you certainly can't fall into the deep, heavy, dead-to-the-world sleep you had last night, because up there, deep sleep is how you die. That's the trade that made you. Down here, with fire and a group, you can finally lie flat and go all the way under. And when researchers line human sleep up against the rest of the primates, that is exactly what falls out of the data. Human sleep is short, shorter than you'd predict for a primate our size, noticeably shorter than most of our relatives, who will happily put in 10, 11, 12 hours. But ours is dense. We spend a notably high proportion of it in REM, the deep, vivid, heavily processing stage where the brain does its filing. Other primates sleep long and light, one ear open, half braced on a branch. We sleep less, and we sleep harder. We traded duration for intensity, fewer hours, but hours that actually count. And the ground and the fire are the only reason we could afford to make that trade at all. Which is not a small thing. That deep, consolidated, ground-based sleep is the environment your memory consolidation and your emotional processing run in. It's not too much of a stretch to say the fire didn't just protect the sleep, it upgraded it. Now, here's where I have to be straight with you, because there's a version of this story you have definitely heard, and it's the exact thing this channel shouldn't do quietly. You know that thing where you're just drifting off, and your whole body suddenly jolts? That violent twitch, and you're wide awake, and for a split second you were falling? That's called a hypnic jerk, or a hypnagogic jerk, and there is an incredibly satisfying explanation floating around the internet that says it's a leftover from sleeping in trees. Your brain, so the story goes, feels your muscles relaxing, panics, thinks you're falling out of a tree, and yanks you awake to save your life. It's a great story. I love it. It's the tidiest possible ending for this video, but there is essentially no evidence for it. It's a just-so story, an explanation that sounds so good it gets repeated forever, without anyone stopping to check whether anyone actually demonstrated it. Nobody has shown that hypnic jerks are an anti-falling reflex, and the more boring explanation is a lot more likely. As you fall asleep, your brain is handing over from wakefulness to sleep, muscle tone is being switched off, and sometimes the handover is just messy. A misfire. A system glitching mid-transition. The falling sensation is your brain writing a quick story to explain a twitch it didn't order, the same way it stitches together a dream out of noise. So no, your midnight leg twitch is probably not a 4 million-year-old memory of a branch. I know. I'm sorry. I wanted it too. And while we're being honest, let's be honest about the whole picture. Nobody has a photograph of an australopith in a tree bed. No nest has ever fossilized. Leaves and bent branches don't survive 3 million years. What we've got is a triangle. Living apes who all do it. Fossils with climbing gear that stubbornly refuses to go away. And a ground that was demonstrably lethal after dark. 3 independent lines pointing at the same conclusion. That's strong. That's genuinely strong. But it's inference, not a home video, and anyone who tells you we know for certain is selling something. Here's what we do have though, and it's better than the myth. Researchers spent weeks tracking the sleep of the Hadza in Tanzania, a group who still live a hunting and gathering life, sleeping in a group, on the ground. Over hundreds of hours of data, they went looking for the moments when the whole camp was asleep at the same time, and they almost couldn't find any. Across the entire study, the total time when every single person was simultaneously asleep added up to a matter of minutes. Not minutes per night. Minutes total. Nobody was on guard duty. There was no rota, no shifts, no one drawing the short straw. It just happened, because people naturally vary. The older you get, the earlier you tend to wake. Teenagers drift late, some bodies simply run on a different clock. And with enough people of enough different ages sleeping near each other, someone is always awake. Always. By accident. The group itself becomes the security system, and nobody in it has to know that's their job. And that reframes something you've probably been told is a defect. Your grandmother waking at 4 in the morning and not being able to get back to sleep is not a malfunction of aging. Your teenager who won't go to bed before 1 is not lazy. Spread those two across a camp, and what looks like a family of broken sleepers is actually a rota that runs itself. The variation is the feature. Read that again, because it's the actual answer. You didn't come down out of the trees because you got brave. You came down because you built a fire, and you had each other, and between the two of them, the ground finally became a place you could close your eyes. The tree kept you alive. The group let you sleep. So let's bring it together. For millions of years, your ancestors solved the most dangerous hours of the day by going up, building a fresh, engineered, surprisingly well-chosen bed in the branches every night, the way chimps and orangutans still do tonight. It cost them a light sleep, a cramped bed, a body that had to keep its climbing kit. Then fire changed what the ground was, size changed what the tree was worth, and the group changed what sleep could be. We came down, we lay flat. We went deeper than any ape had gone before, and that deep, dense, defenseless sleep is the one you're going to have tonight. Which brings us back to your bedroom. Because you didn't stop being that ape, you just got better hardware. Notice that you sleep better with a wall behind you and a view of the door. Notice that you'd rather have the bed away from the entrance. Notice that a bed with a headboard and a canopy and a heavy blanket over the top of you feels safer than a mattress in the middle of an open floor, even though the leopard problem in your neighborhood is, statistically, under control. That's not decor. That's an ancient checklist. Enclosed, elevated, covered. Backed, you are still building the nest. You just outsourced it to a furniture store. And if you want the least deniable evidence, look at a child. Nobody teaches a 4-year-old to drag every cushion in the house into a corner and build a small enclosed cave with a roof on it. Nobody teaches them to want the top bunk. Nobody has to explain the appeal of a treehouse, a structure whose entire selling point is that it is up and small and yours, and nothing can get in. Kids do it in every country on earth, unprompted, before they can spell any of the words in this video. We look at that and call it play. It might just be the oldest instinct you own, running on a body too young to have learned to ignore it yet. So tonight, when you walk into that room and do the most vulnerable thing a mammal can do, lie down, close your eyes, and vanish for 8 hours, remember what that actually cost. 4 million years of apes in branches, sleeping with one ear open, waiting for something better. You are the first ape in your entire family line that gets to sleep all the way through the night, flat on your back, in the dark, on the ground. Your ancestors bought that for you with fire, with company, and with a very long time spent awake in a tree. Sleep well. You've earned it. They earned it first.